Closed captioning for Education Matters is sponsored by Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare and Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia. What do these young men have in common? No, they're not criminals. No, they don't have anger issues. They are all professional young men, and they are in a phenomenal program called Call Me Mister, a program that's encouraging minority males to enter the teaching profession. Education Matters is next. Good morning and welcome inside a brand new segment of Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Westby, your host of Education Matters, where learning is living. Let me tell you right now, let me get you prepared. Today will be one of the most memorable Education Matters segment you will be able to see thus far. So we pray that if you have to go to worship service this morning, that you set your DVRs, do whatever you need to do, because it's going to be a fantastic broadcast. We're talking about the Call Me Mister program today and some of the stereotypes of African American males. I can hardly wait for the exchange we'll have here in the studio today. Of course, we'd like to thank the sponsors of Education Matters. They make it possible for us to broadcast to you every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on WRDW Channel 12. Our corporate sponsors, Howell Printing out of Aiken, South Carolina, your full service printer. Also, Security Federal Bank. There are branches throughout our entire broadcast coverage area, and we thank Security Federal for their support. Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia, South Carolina's premier alternative education school. Westby's Products and Services, creator of Don Seasoning Delight, all-purpose seasoning and marinade. Also, Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare, although you'll see the commercial in the broadcast saying they will be open, they are actually open now. So we hope you go and check out Margaret's Garden. The University of South Carolina in Aiken, certainly a top college or university in our region. And then finally, Access Chiropractic, where the chiropractor is Dr. Blair Bradley. Then moving on to our personal sponsors. These are individuals who've pledged financial support to assist Education Matters. And they are Bill and Joy Bradley out of Aiken, South Carolina, Miss Sharon White, also Isaac and Betty Rucker, my parents of Aiken, and then finally Deacon Henry and Nancy Craig. Thanks so much to all of you for your love and your support. All right, quickly moving, we've got lots to cover today to this week's chalkboard reminder. And I want to give shouts out as I do this to a young lady who called me this week and said she watches and even tapes our broadcast for her daughter. Shouts out to Miss Dot Valentine and her daughter, Miss Karen Valentine. This is for you. All right, to watch previous segments of Education Matters, all you have to do is go to YouTube. And in the search bar, type Education Matters episode 001. Now, we've had over 40 broadcasts. I think this one is broadcast number 43, okay, since we've been on WRDW. But when you go to episode 001, you're going to then click on a little blue icon. And once you do that, all of the previous segments of Education Matters will pull up for you. Now, if you click on the subscribe button, you will receive notification, and I think it's to your email account, each time a new segment of Education Matters is uploaded, all right? So even if you miss us on Sunday mornings, you can always go back and watch Education Matters. That is your chalkboard reminder for this week. All right, that sound means it's Word of the Week time inside of Education Matters. Every week we do provide you with a brand new Word of the Week so that we can all learn and grow together. Here is this week's. Impervious. Impervious, all right? Impervious is an adjective and it means incapable of being penetrated. It also means incapable of being affected. And here is this week's sentence. Gladys is so impervious about her beliefs regarding divorce that even her best friend couldn't change her mind. She wasn't budging, okay? Impervious is this week's word of the week for a continuous list of my words of the week, and quite a nice little listing of other helpful websites. Here's the website for you, www.edmat.com. Feel free to write me, as so many of you have already done, to donnawesby@aol.com. donnawesby@aol.com, okay? Quickly moving on to this week's grammar lesson of the week, and it's a good one. I see this error all the time. This week we're dealing with run-on sentences, okay? What is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence is two or more sentences incorrectly written as one sentence, okay? To correct a run-on sentence, you can do it by writing separate sentences, okay? That's always great. Or by combining the sentences with a semicolon or with a comma and the words and, or but, all right? Let's look at an example. Bill won the race, comma, the crowd cheered. That is a run-on sentence, all right? How do we correct it? Well, here are some examples. Either make it two sentences. Bill won the race, period. The crowd cheered. You can't go wrong with that. Sentence 2, Bill won the race, semicolon, the crowd cheered. All right, that's another correct way. And then finally, with a conjunction, Bill won the race, comma, and the crowd cheered, okay? I know that we went through that pretty quickly, but hopefully you get the idea. That is this week's grammar lesson of the week. All right, moving on. I want to share with you now, I'm so excited to introduce a new part of the Education Matters broadcast. On my radio broadcast, some of you have heard her, and her name is Charity. And Charity is a little girl who is very opinionated, always has something to say. And she visits me on the radio broadcast, but special shouts out to one of my Aiken High babies, Mr. Cameron Clamp, and John Gray, senior producer here at WRDW, who helped to bring Charity to life. So after you hear from Charity and also some other very important words, we'll come back and talk to you about the Call Me Mr. program that is helping to make a difference in the lives of our minority males and also the students they impact, all right? You're inside of Education Matters with me, Donna Moore Wesby, where learning is living.
What's up, God's people? It's me, Charity, with this week's segment of Charity's Corner, because I've got something to say and I can't hold it in. Some might describe me as light-skinned, fair-skinned, or high yellow. My friend is described as dark-skinned or tar baby. What's all the fuss about? Why do we have to always label people? Am I better than my friend because my skin happens to be lighter than hers? Of course not, but society sure thinks so. The next time you're about to judge someone because of the color of their skin, ask yourself this question. Don't we all bleed red blood? My name is Charity, and it's all in the name of love.
We as a nation can take the next step. Stop thinking about education as something that starts with 5-year-olds in kindergarten. Start to really understand this starts at birth and work together to make sure every child enters kindergarten ready to be successful. And our kindergarten teachers around the nation will tell us when that happens, amazing things happen in their classrooms. When that doesn't happen, it makes their jobs very, very difficult.
In kindergarten, we see that children who have attended early childhood education programs have academic skills such as mathematics skills, coloring recognition, literacy abilities of letters and understanding language. And additionally, attending preschool can help the children build social skills. That is a huge aspect for us, is the social skills. The majority of my students this year have attended preschool, and I have not had a classroom like this ever. I've been teaching kindergarten for 19 years. The preschool teachers have made them prepared for this. I can just start. You know, I don't have to go back and teach any preschool curriculum. I can just go into kindergarten, and it's wonderful, and each kindergarten teacher should get this experience, to have a class that's ready for kindergarten.
This is an investment. It's the best investment we can make. I can't think of a better investment of your and my tax dollars than in providing high-quality early learning opportunities for our babies.
It was very important to be involved in a collaboration, because I just believe that the idea of educating African American males to teach in the elementary school was really a novel, very innovative, and very challenging. And when there is a challenge, I believe that a collaboration is the best way to attack it.
Well, it really was at the beginning when the program was starting. We had some conversations with the president of Clemson at the time, who said he had an interest in this new program.
Well, I think Call Me Mister is one of the best ideas Clemson's ever had. And we're very proud to be the birthplace of this program, and equally proud to have such terrific founding partners as the three institutions in South Carolina, historically black private institutions. And we thought we made a terrific team.
Yes, talk about a phenomenal program. Call Me Mr. M-I-S-T-E-R. What does it stand for? Well, I have a studio loaded with phenomenal young men who can hardly wait to tell you about this program located in the great state of South Carolina. Call Me Mr. Joining me in the studio today are four young men I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. We've dined together a little bit, got a chance to see you all interact together, and I am just so delighted to have you all here in the Education Matters studios. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Listen at the deep voices. Well, like I said, I'm so delighted. We opened the broadcast with a pan of each of you because, you know, in today's world, you can hardly turn on the news without hearing something negative about our African American males. And on this day, I wanted our viewers of Education Matters to turn on the television and see on this broadcast positive, educated, inspiring, professional young men. And you're here. And Mr. Joseph, I'm going to start with you. We have with us Mr. Mark Joseph, who is one of the original, I believe, early on individuals in the Call Me Mr. program, currently serving as a professor at Anderson University, and also the Call Me Mr. Collaborator.
Yes.
And I want to go to you first.
Okay.
When you look at some of those past presidents of the colleges, and they talk about Call Me Mr. and the founding of an organization, you talk about vision.
Yes.
Vision on a campus that's predominantly white. How did this all come about?
Well, the unique idea and the unique inspiration about Call Me Mr. in the great state of South Carolina, we understood that there was a lack of diversity in the teaching workforce. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, you know, we group decided to come together to collaborate to decide how can we remedy this situation? Mm-hmm. How can we provide diversity in the teacher workforce? Because it was clear that in the state of South Carolina, there was less than 1% African American males who were in our elementary classrooms. Mm-hmm. So we had Clemson University, we had the 3 historically black colleges and universities. They all decided to band together, to team together, to come up with a unique and dynamic program entitled the Call Me Mr. program. Mm-hmm. And again, the whole mission and the intent of the program was to add more diversity in our teacher workforce in the state of South Carolina.
I think also that's truly phenomenal, and I've said on this broadcast time and time again that one of my favorite quotes is, there are 2 catalysts for change, vision or crisis. And it's good to see that there are people who still can have vision and look at the needs and then actually come up with solutions to address it. And that's what the Call Me Mr. program is all about. In a nutshell, I'm going to now cut to Adrian Mayes.
Yes, ma'am.
Who, let's see, Adrian and Justus Cox, you all have been in the program apart from Mr. Joseph, the longest, and then Mykal, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me what is, explain to our viewers what the Call Me Mr. program actually does. And then we also will have you all chime in on how it does what it does.
Okay, cool. Again, thanks for having us.
Yes.
The Call Me Mr. program, first of all, we actually do a lot. We've been in schools in our area, in elementary schools. We tutor there, just reaching out to the youth. We'll go to like their basketball games, and because we're training to be the teacher, and so we take on those responsibilities and those roles. Those guys, they get excited to see us coming to their extracurricular activities, and just hanging out with them, trying to inspire them, because a lot of them don't have that male figure or that positive role model. So we try our best to be what we can for them.
That's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're certainly doing that. Justus, as a minority male yourself, why the focus on having minority males in the classroom? You say we all know that in many of our homes nowadays in America, males are missing, males are absent, or they're not hands-on or as involved as maybe the children need. Why the focus on minority males with this program?
I believe just for that very reason, like you said, how it's lacking in the households of the children. But I really believe having the male presence in the classroom also provides the children with perspective. Not only seeing, well, most of the time when they see a black man, it's a rap video or a sports team, but seeing the black man in the classroom taking the leadership role as he would in the household, which he is not currently in.
Right.
But I think having that man, the male presence, not necessarily always a black man, but the male presence in the classroom, just gives the students a different perspective on education.
As a woman, as a mother, I run, as you all know, I run a reading center, and many of the students in my reading center are without their fathers actively involved. Very awesome mothers who are working hard, who are providing for their children, but they're missing that in the home role model. As some of you may know, my son Mykal Moore was my guest on episode 20, I believe it was, where he described a thought, a philosophy that was inspired to him by the Holy Ghost, and we believe in that, called the fatherless generation. Mykal, describe for us, in bringing in the beliefs of the Call Me Mr. program, how this is also helping to address the fatherless generation or the fatherless road.
Okay, well, I'll grab directly from one of the principles or the tenets of Call Me Mr. Called Brother's Keeper. And with Brother's Keeper, it's just that idea that you don't just look out for yourself, but you're there for somebody else, and you have their back, whether they're going through a tough time or whether they're not going through a tough time. They just, want that friendship, that bonding, right? And so I take that principle and I say that, when we go into the schools or we're mentoring or we're tutoring with the children, a lot of the times, all they want is someone that loves and cares about them. Like that's the easiest part. The hardest part is that, is loving and caring for them and being there for them. The easiest part, I believe, is teaching them. Like if you love them first, then they'll be receptive, to what you have to teach them. So bringing in the mindset or the tenet of Brother's Keeper, I'm going to bring it all around, is I have to learn, and I've been learning through Call Me Mr., how to be a brother to Justus, how to be a brother to Adrian, and then allowing them to be brothers to me. So what that develops is the whole principle that I will never leave nor forsake you. I'm there for you. The same principle that God tells us in Deuteronomy 31:6, which is the same principle that I believe a lot of people are missing, especially if you're a kid growing up without a father, or growing up without a positive role model. It's like, man, who's there for me?
Right, right.
You see?
Yeah, and that's the interesting aspect of all of this, is that in many cases you are trying to be that role model, be that example for young people who don't have that in their homes, but you're telling them, that's okay, I'm going to love you, I'm going to care for you, but their experience might be otherwise. So how do you then make the connection with these children that, yeah, we're not your biological father, but you can still look up to us, you can still trust us and know that we're going to not just teach you, but we're going to care for you, we're going to love on you?
One of the most important aspects of Call Me Mister that we've understood over time is the importance of relationships. You know, there's nothing in life that you can, that you can't find apart from relationships.
Yeah.
And so, as the minister stated, in developing Brothers Keeper, we understand the importance of, to accomplish anything great, there has to be relationships established. There has to be something relational connected. And one of the things, when we go into the classrooms and when we are in those roles and those positions as educators, we create an atmosphere and an environment to where we can emphasize the importance of a relationship environment, you know, a relationship in a classroom setting, because that's one of the things that many classes don't see.
Right.
And, you know, whether the student has a, parent in the home or not, again, we're reinforcing the importance of relationships, because now the students can interact with one another while they're, working on a particular project, or while they're working on a particular activity. Now they're in a position to learn from one another and to build something collectively as opposed to trying to accomplish something in an isolated way.
Right.
Education is a relational aspect of life, of living. And so one of the important aspects of Call Me Mister that we continuously emphasize from day one is that we're here to establish relationships.
Establish relationships. And even although you are establishing that relationship with a child, there is a relationship that's established, almost like a brotherhood within the Misters. Tell me, what does Mister stand for? Because a lot of our viewers might be just thinking that it's the capital M and the lowercase r, but it's actually an acronym, M-I-S-T-E-R.
Yes. You want me to take that away?
You got it,
Okay.
I'll come back to you, Justus.
Mister stands for Mentors, Instructing Students Towards Effective Role Models.
Mentors, instructing students to become towards effective role models, okay? Now, here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, there is, I would say, a huge challenge that Call Me Mister has before you each time you set foot in a classroom. Because the world, in many cases, media, is portraying you all as something totally opposite of what we see, of what you are being taught, of what you perhaps have grown to know and appreciate of who you are. So how do we address what we know they're getting in other aspects, and then they see you in the classroom? Adrian, I see you thinking.
I just think it's interesting how you talk about the media and how they're able to hype up a lot of things, and I'm glad that this is an authentic situation where we can just be real and say that there are, positive African American male role models who are actually trying to make a difference,
and
who
not
are
just
actually
athletes.
Right, we're not holding mics or dribbling a basketball, and it's nothing against that.
Right.
I play basketball. I'm actually pretty good.
Is he good?
No, not really.
But
I think I've got some B-roll. I'm just kidding.
Some lightning strikes.
No, but I like the authentic situation to where we can actually talk about, the positivity of us, and no, we're not perfect. No, we don't do, everything the correct way or the right way, but we each have a goal and we each have a dream and a vision. And a lot of people ask, like, why do you want to do education? And I say, because I truly believe that God has put us here not for ourselves. He's put us here to help people, and with the way that the world is going, it starts with the youth. Everybody's always, these youth, this generation, that generation.
Yes.
It starts with the youth, and somebody has to step up and to make that impact, and that's going to be us.
That's awesome. Justus, not only does, of course, you all are majoring in education, and with the Call Me Mr. program, we know the focus is getting you all in elementary education. Why elementary education? I mean, I thought about this. I thought about the entire time I was in elementary, middle, and high school, and I don't think I had one male teacher, certainly not one African American or minority teacher. So, why the focus on elementary education with the Call Me Mr. program?
I know the focus for elementary starting off would definitely been because the developmental stages, that child not having a black male in the classroom, like you said, until you get to middle school or to high school. But I know now the focus is just not on elementary school. We have some doing different things, music education, middle level. Actually, my heart is in middle level education because that was the hardest part for me going through my life. Was
puberty years.
Yeah, puberty hitting, everything, bumps started coming on your face, girls started looking more prettier. So that was just, my time of struggle. But elementary, that's definitely where I want to start out. But I honestly want to work my way towards middle level education. But yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know anything about Call Me Mr. program, and there are many people across this state who've never heard of the program, may not have realized that having a minority male teacher in a particular school may have been the direct result of Call Me Mr. Share with us the benefits of the Call Me Mr. program, because there's even financial assistance that's provided. Mr. Joseph, describe the process and how one applies.
Well, the process is a very simple process. The great thing about Call Me Mr., we are actually connected to at least 19 institutions in the state of South Carolina. That's 2-year and 4-year institutions throughout the state of South Carolina. So from a high school student, if I had an interest in becoming a Call Me Mr. scholar, I would apply to one of the 19 institutions that's connected to the Call Me Mr. program. And once I'm actually accepted to the institution, then I also apply specifically to the Call Me Mr. program. Once I apply to the Call Me Mr. program, then the student will go on an interview process. They will write a letter, or why would I would like to become a classroom teacher. They would also provide 2 letters of recommendations as well. But again, that's the simple process, and they will go through interviewing stages again. But the simple process, apply to the university of their choice that's connected to a Call Me Mr. program, and then apply to the Call Me Mr. program as well.
Okay, and for those who are watching, and if you're already interested, the 19 participating colleges that Mr. Joseph referred to are listed on the Clemson website. If you, all you have to do is just Google Call Me Mr., M-I-S-T-E-R, and you will get more details about the program, how to apply, the participating colleges and universities, or you can go to www.clemson.edu. We've got so much more to cover, but I want you to take a look now at this next clip that also comes from, I believe, one of the former presidents of Clemson University, again talking about the impact of the Call Me Mr. program. Take a look.
Imagine the impact that we're already having, and imagine what we're going to have as we get the full component into the public school system. What impact it's having is simply that it's changing the culture of public higher education in South Carolina and public elementary education in our state.
That's pretty remarkable. You know, everybody always says something negative about South Carolina, but what has this program in 60 seconds, Mykal, done for you?
What, and I'll just keep it very brief. It's taught me how to be a better teacher. It's taught me how to be a better brother's keeper. instead of just trying to be a one-man show. It's taught me how to just slow down and kind of just be a listener.
Yeah.
You know, more so than always trying to, you know, force an issue or whatever. So it's taught me how to calm down there. It's helped me financially.
Yes. Praise
Definitely.
the Lord. Mama's going to ring bell on that. Thank you, Lord, for the Call Me Mr. program. Because
Yes.
actually, and I'm not sure if it's the same amount, about $8,000 per year, thereabouts. Well, anyway, it's a great program. Don't you go anywhere. We've got lots more to cover. You're inside of Education Matters. We'll be right back.
Weekends are for resting, relaxing, and recharging your batteries. A good weekend can also give you the time to catch up on business you couldn't get to during the week. For Security Federal Bank customers, that means banking business. What does 7-day banking mean to your banker? More importantly, what does it mean to you? At Security Federal Bank, being open 7 days a week means just that. That's why our Southside branch on Whiskey Road in front of Target is open for business every day, even Saturday and Sunday. We're proud to be the only bank to be open 7 days a week in Aiken County. If we were you, we'd bank with us.
The Will Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success. Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare is coming soon to serve the community of Aiken. We are dedicated to enhancing the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of our clients, allowing seniors to remain in the community as long as possible. A daily fitness plan, games, weekly outings, fine dining, and discussion groups are just a few of the services we offer to keep your loved one active and engaged. Margaret's Garden. We meet you where you are.
Why go to college anywhere else? For the past 4 years, U.S. News & World Report has named University of South Carolina Aiken the #1 top public comprehensive college in the South. You can attend one of the best universities in the nation with more than 49 majors in academic programs, nationally ranked athletics, and great student life. With small classes, the faculty and staff are focused on your success. USC Aiken, the university focused on you.
Have you made the switch? Make the switch to the original one-of-a-kind WNRR Gospel 1380 AM, your new favorite station for the latest in chart-topping gospel music, news, and entertainment. So why don't you make the switch today to WNRR Gospel 1380 AM? Also, listen live on WNRRGospel.com or download our free iPhone or Android app and search at WNRR Gospel. WNRR Gospel 1380 AM, your new favorite station.
I lead a busy life, but I still have to make sure my family eats right. And everybody loves Dawn's Seasoning Delight. I use Dawn's on meats and vegetables. It's healthy, tastes great, and it's simple to use. It's like having a chef in a bottle.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Bilo, Food Line, Roots, and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Dawn's Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
If you are interested in becoming an individual or corporate sponsor of Education Matters, contact Donna Moore Wesby at 803-507-6793 or email at donnawesby@aol.com.
Welcome back inside of the broadcast. Today we are talking about the Call Me Mr. program, MISTER, and that stands for mentors. Help me out. Help me out, guys. I'm not a mister. Mentors instructing
students toward effective role models.
There you go. You get it straight from the horse's mouth, as they say. These are the misters. They know what it stands for. It is a program with the specific purpose of increasing the pool of available teachers from a broader, more diverse perspective, particularly African American males in the teaching profession. And today inside of the broadcast, we just happen to have 4 males who are representing themselves quite well, but also Anderson University. Mr. Mark Joseph here is a college professor at Anderson University, one of the inaugural members, or call me Mr. He's also a collaborator, meaning you are what?
Basically, I serve as a liaison, working closely with Clemson University and the other partner in Call Me Mr. schools, and basically working with these dynamic young men. Spending time with them, and as we stated earlier, developing relationships.
Right.
So I get the unique, opportunity to have them sit in my office and,
hours on end, huh?
Exactly. To hold me up, for 6 hours if he feels like it. But I say that facetiously, but really, that's what it's about. It's really about making yourselves available.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the cause is, but it's being there for one another.
Right.
Because when the time comes, the time that we spend with one another, we want that same situation to be demonstrated in the classroom.
Right.
When there's a student who wants to talk a lot and wants to raise his hand all the time and has a question, will you be you will have to learn to be that patient.
Right.
Will you be put yourself aside? Will you eliminate your ego? Will you diffuse yourself for the greater good of the student and for the greater good of your students? So in essence, a collaborator is basically, just demonstrating the life of a classroom educator.
All right. Justus, I know you and Mykal have roomed together, and you've been a great support to him. Y'all kicked him out this past year. I don't know what the hell's up with him. I'm just teasing. But in a world where it seems people idolize and worship money, obviously the teaching profession, there's not tons of money that you might be able to make initially, okay? Why go into the teaching profession when you hear about the pay and you hear about the challenges that teachers are facing every day with students who don't listen, with homes that are broken, all of these challenges? Why go into the teaching profession?
First of all, for me, it's the love for what I am going into and the students that I pray that God allows me to impact. Like Mark mentioned, diffusing yourself, like becoming less of yourself. The great example of Jesus, how he, the greatest form of humility if I've ever seen.
That's right.
But putting himself and the others before himself.
That's right.
This educational field, we all know it's a war zone, the battlefield, and just knowing why God has placed you here. We talk about finding your disposition, knowing your why. Truly understanding that it's bigger than yourself.
Right.
When people talk about the pay, but I did some research a few years back. It was within the top 10 highest paid professions out there. And so with saying that, we got summers off, holidays, breaks. And so it's honestly not that bad. And the people, the ones that are complaining,
probably shouldn't be in the field anyway.
Probably shouldn't be in the field anyway, but at the same time, just have to get back to why they chose to do it in the first place. Getting back to that love.
That's right. That's good.
And one of the things I would like to add to that, as educators, a lot of times, educators, we don't get the opportunity to tell our own narrative. From the, some, news outlets, you hear the horror stories, you hear the tragedies, but we get an opportunity to tell the positive stories, that takes place in the classroom environment. Education is probably the only profession that impacts our society the way it does. There's not, every person will go through at some point in their life will encounter a classroom or a classroom teacher. Everyone. And so, and to have that opportunity to touch our future, to touch our present through the Call Me Mr. program and through education, it speaks wonders.
It does.
It speaks wonders. So it's a blessing for us. It's a blessing that God has given us this opportunity and that we've embraced this opportunity to impact, our current generation and generations to come.
You're up for the challenge, and you've accepted the challenge, and I applaud you on it, because there are so many people who will look out and see the problems, and we're good at talking about the problems. We're really good at that. We can form a problem to death, we can symposium a problem to death, we can meet a problem to death, but to actually come up with real tangible solutions, that's a whole nother story. And going back to the images that the media places regarding African American males, the stereotypes that are out there. Do you believe it is your job to dispel those images, or do you believe, Mykal, that in some sense you just don't have control over what other people do or say, because maybe they're going to think that way anyway? Do you believe it's your mantra or your job to dispel those, or are you just going to be who you are and let it speak for itself?
I mean, I believe that from the beginning of time there has always been stereotypes. So obviously stereotypes, you know, that's human nature. You're gonna naturally judge somebody else, you know, who is not like you or you can't connect with. Like, that's just human nature. So in that case then, and we actually talked about this this past summer, because Call Me Mister, we had a teaching internship, and so we actually talked about stereotypes. You know, we talked about, you know, why does everyone think black people are loud or ghetto, or you know, not
males have anger issues, violence.
Yeah, chicken, watermelon, Kool-Aid, and different things like that. And I remember the conclusion we all came up with. It was like about 40 Call Me Mister future teachers in the room, and some current teachers, and we came up with this, that, you know, stereotypes, they are out of our control, but you should be an example that is different than that stereotype. So if a teacher automatically thinks that I am going to be not focused, and I'm going to be the one who's the class clown, or something like that, or even does she think I'm going to be aggressive, you know, and rude and a back talker? Well, am I feeding into that stereotype?
Are you going to perpetuate it?
Am I perpetuating it, or am I that different example? Right. So that's kind of what we came up with. You have to be the example and the change that you want to see. In a sense. So.
And even in the change, just visually, when you walk into a room with your jackets and your ties, you don't have your pants hanging down, you are, you know, poised and you're articulate, that right there speaks volumes, even actually before you utter a word. So what's the reaction, Adrian, of the students when you all walk in the classroom? Give me some testimonials.
Well, currently I'm in my preclinical at Verendas Elementary School in Anderson, and they're mostly African American male students in there. And my first day when I walked in, they were just kind of like, "What is going on here?
Are you gonna rap?"
Right. And but
are you in the NBA? Would they say that, Mykal?
No, they wouldn't say that.
But of course, I was dressed to teach, and I went in there with a purpose. And eventually, you know, it took a couple of days where they were like, "Okay, this guy's for real." And actually, back to, you know, we talked about establishing those relationships. When you establish those relationships with those students, they're easy to teach. They listen to you. You know, they're students, so they're gonna talk out. They're gonna raise their hand, and, "Oh, pick me," and all this type of stuff. But you know, if you give them that look, right? If you give them that look or something, because you've established that relationship, they're gonna respect you. And you know, not anything against women, but males have a natural, like, all right.
There's that authority.
Authoritative tone.
That's right. The tone, the posture. I think it's, I mean, for me, it is a spiritual thing, because the natural order, and I speak about this all the time, is that men are supposed to be the heads. You're supposed to be that authority figure of respect, and then you all set the tone for everything else. So I'm just so grateful for the Call Me Mr. program, and it is my prayer today that more people who are watching, if you've never heard of the Call Me Mr. program, that you will tell them you saw these gentlemen on the Education Matters broadcast and you want to learn more about it. Again, if you're off to worship service, make sure you go to Clemson's website. That's www.clemson.edu, or you can just, in your search bar, type in Call Me Mr., M-I-S-T-E-R, and the website will come up, and you'll get videos, you'll get the participating colleges, you'll learn about the application process. Everything you need is right there. So it's really exciting to see you guys here. Any other stories, funny stories of what's happened to you recently while being in the classroom? I know at the Reading Center for me, the kids are hilarious. They are hilarious. Justus?
I mean, I guess the funniest things, like we said, is just the reactions. Just like when his head was going side to side, first, like the automatic attention, the head's turning. But at the same time, like you said, it speaks volume just to show that, I guess the attention that your presence grabs, like right away, and just let you know that somebody's always looking at you. I know we talked about how social media reflects the negative stereotypes. I know me personally, I like to use my social media to go against that, you know, like you said, to dispel it. Not, oh, I gotta prove you wrong, I gotta prove this stereotype to be a myth or whatever, but at the same time, letting my image be shown as a positive one. So I can be the exception. Well, maybe, yes, all black people may be doing this, but this one's not. You know what I'm saying? I can start to be that change and using my social media to plant that seed for others to be that change as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we have another clip that I want to show at this time, and it's further reinforcement about the value of the Call Me Mr. program and what the program means to this particular individual. Maybe you will recognize. Take a look.
Call Me Mr. The program Call Me Mr. is actually a program that's all about servant leadership. Servant leadership to me means someone who has been blessed with the abilities to lead people towards their God-given destiny, but humble enough to reach down to where they are and bring them to where they need to be. Servant leadership is the idea that my life is not about me. And that's exactly the same mentality that I'm instilling in my students today.
I would define it as education. And not to simplify what Call Me Mr. is, because there's so many facets of this Call Me Mr. program, but I call it and I define it as education because my definition of education is drawing out what you have on the inside of you. I truly believe that we all are leaders. We've been born to be leaders, and leadership is nothing but you have influence over someone else's life.
Recognize? Did you recognize anybody? Anybody's?
Yep.
Full of smiles and excitement. And now, are you nervous about? Because very soon, I think, Adrian, you'll be graduating soon, won't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then behind you is Justus and Mykal.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you thought about your first days?
I do.
And what do you think about?
I really do think about my first days because I'm that guy who I want to be ready right when it happens. But I've been told by everyone else who's already been teaching, it's not like that.
Okay.
You're gonna need at least a year to really get acclimated, you know, to the transition. But I'm ready because of the training that Call Me Mr. has given me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
And I hear, Adrian, go ahead.
I'm not so concerned about the teaching aspect of it or the students. I'm more concerned about how the parents are gonna look at me and how they're gonna feel. Because again, there's not a lot of African American males in the classroom. So they're gonna walk in there and say, let me see what this guy's gonna do. Let me see what this guy's about. And I know what I'm gonna do and I know what I'm about. So it's gonna be great. I just gotta adjust to it.
Okay.
I know, like for me, the biggest thing is just reflecting on the now and gaining everything that we can out of not only through Call Me Mr., but life. We always talk about how the education program at Anderson is our, it's like the, what's the word? The lab, how it's going to be once you enter the classroom with your field, your co-teachers, and things of that nature. And I know one thing my mentor, Mark Joseph, told to me, going through my struggle with school, basically that it's better to take your hit now on this side and until instead of taking a hit once you're in the classroom. And that hit big for me, knowing that this struggle right now is only helping me for later, you know what I'm saying? And so that alone is not, it just helped me to take no thought about what I'm going into, the future of it, but knowing that when I do come across some problems or some certain situations that I've already, seen bigger things than it.
That's right. And bigger things, I know with you, Mr. Joseph, with you having already traveled the road that these gentlemen have, and now a professor, because you were a teacher, and now a college professor, and working with the very program that assisted you. What's all that like for you?
It's a dream come true. Actually, when you were showing the clip, it just brought back so many memories. I had the gentleman, Mr. Hayward John. He's a local from the area, and he's currently a principal in Orangeburg, South Carolina. But
doing marvelous things.
Doing great things, exactly. But he and I graduated together. Very close friends, his brother, Howard John. But it's good to see where we started. We started in the year 2000, and we're at this point. We're in the fall of 2015, we're celebrating 15 years of being in the state of South Carolina, and it's very rewarding. It is. We can't say thank you enough for all the support, all the assistance from many people throughout the state of South Carolina. Avenues such as this, we thank you for your support, for even giving us the platform to tell our narrative. But again, it's a dream come true, because this is what we wholeheartedly believe in. We want to impact our state. We want to impact this generation and the generations to come in the state of South Carolina.
Spoken like a true advocate, spoken like a Mr. M-I-S-T-E-R. Mykal?
15 years proves that the Call Me Mr. program is impervious. That's all I want to say.
Oh!
That's all I want to say.
I might have to cook you dinner tonight. All right,
Chicken and watermelon.
awesome. The Call Me Mr. program. Look, tuition assistance, forgiveness programs for admitted students, academic support to help assure your success, a cohort system for social and cultural support, assistance with job placement. The Call Me Mr. program. We'll be right back.
Greetings, I'm Dr. Mayretha Willis, and welcome to Teaching on Purpose Moments. Today, I'm going to share a segment about differentiated instruction, specifically flexible grouping. I want you to meet Miss Nowinski, a high school English teacher. Check this out.
Today I'm doing a lesson on nonfiction, and it's part of Collection 3 from the Elements of Literature. I have my students in flexible groups based on the testing that I did. And one of the most important things for my groups are the jobs that everybody has. So I've broken them down into 3 people to a group. The first person is a reader, and the reader has to read all the information that's given as far as the questions and anything that's in the textbook. The monitor is really important. The monitor has to control the noise level and also make sure everybody stays at the same point. So if everybody's discussing question 5, everybody's discussing question 5 and then writing their answer. And the last one is the checker. The checker makes sure at the end that everybody's ready to turn in their paper, or everybody's ready to present their answers.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Nowinski. I want to thank you for joining me today. And to learn more about flexible grouping, visit www.teachingonpurpose.com. And thank you for being a top educator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mayretha Willis with Teaching on Purpose. Today we've been discussing the Call Me Mr. program, M-I-S-T-E-R. Check out the details on the Clemson's website, www.clemson.edu, or you can just Google or search Call Me Mr. M-I-S-T-E-R. I want to quickly show a photo of I love this power photo of Mykal, Justus, and Adrian. And I understand that you, Mr. Mark Joseph, took that picture. What was happening then?
The picture was, it was just synonymous of these gentlemen actually accomplishing something great together.
Oh.
Having the opportunity when, as things move forward, that they can reflect upon, this is what we've accomplished together.
Mm-hmm.
Our misters come in every year as a cohort, as a group. And they came in together, they work together, they're in classes together, they eat together, they do so many things together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great message to understand that we don't have to do this alone.
Right.
And so I think the picture tells so many different stories.
It does.
But it basically spells the understanding that we're in this together.
Yes, and truly, that when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, that picture was worth 10,000 words to me. There were so many positive feelings that were conjured up in me from seeing that picture. Because with the Call Me Mr. program, not only are they getting an education, but they get the opportunity to attend professional development conferences and workshops, go out to teach, and they're motivational speakers. So please check out the Call Me Mr. program. 30 seconds, each one of you will go to Mykal on any last words to our viewers today.
All right, well, Call Me Mr. has taught me personal growth, all right? So when I say personal growth, someone said something profound to me one time. They said, you only fail if you fail to try. So we all go through our moments where we feel like giving up or we feel like giving in, but Call Me Mr. has taught me to persevere and to always keep going, right? And so one of the things for me, quickly, I was a person who was known to have an ego or different things like that. But Call Me Mr. really taught me the universal principle of humility and being a brother's keeper.
All right, thank you. Justus?
A big thing with me would be servant leadership. Everybody wants to be in the spotlight, having the fame of the name and things of that nature. But like I mentioned earlier, the great leader of them all time, Jesus Christ, how he led through service, how he knew his purpose was to come here and serve. And so I feel like as misters, as a cohort, as a group of future leaders now, that servant leadership is definitely key.
Yes, it is. Adrian?
Real quickly, those guys made interesting points. To me, it's the brotherhood. I'm grateful for each and every one of these guys. They've taught me a lot. We've been through some things. We laugh, we have fun. But this is a brotherhood, a lifelong brotherhood that we can strengthen each other in any situation.
Praise the Lord for that.
So I'm grateful for that.
All right, and Mr. Joseph?
Yes, I'd like to thank Dr. Roy Jones, Winston Holton, Tanya Miller, Clemson University, and their hard work and their efforts in basically expanding and developing and building and giving many youth in the state of South Carolina the opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream in becoming educators and impacting our state. And personally, we would like to thank you for just giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. You traveled a long ways, and I wish you continued blessings on all of your efforts and all that you're doing to impact the lives of our children here in South Carolina. You've been inside of Education Matters with me, Donna Moore Wesby, where today, for sure, learning is living. Have a blessed day.